Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Tuesday, 15th October 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Exxon Mobil will not be interested in renegotiating its terms with Guyana. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. HGP's Antonio Day reports that Alistair Rutledge, president of Exxon Mobil Guyana, has firmly stated that the oil conglomerate has no intention of renegotiating the terms as set in the 2016 oil contract. Rutledge's remarks come amid ongoing discussions about the fairness of the contract to the people of Guyana.
On Wednesday, President of Exxon Mobil Guyana Limited, EMGL, Alistair Rutledge, when asked whether the company was willing to renegotiate its share of profit and royalty with Guyana, said it would be an unwise decision. He told reporters at a media briefing held at Exxon Mobil's headquarters in Kingston, Georgetown, that this move would impact the oil company's already made investments. Based on Article 32 of the 2016 Production Sharing Agreement, PSA, the government has to gain permission from the operator to renegotiate the terms of the contract.
At the end of the day, this was, all the elements that go into an agreement like this, a production sharing agreement, are put together at a point in time reflecting the risk that existed.
Rutledge's response came in the wake of opposition leader Aubrey Norton, who said that once elected in 2025, his government would renegotiate and change the fiscal terms in the production sharing agreement, known as the PSA. The EMGL president explained that in order to attract investment, one must rethink the agreement's prospects.
This agreement's been very successful for Guyana in attracting investment into a basin where nobody had made any discoveries. It de-risked the Suriname drilling because discoveries had been made in Guyana by the Starbuck Block co-venturers.
He said once people can cherry pick around issues regarding royalties and other taxes, one must consider whether the country has been able to attract investments and drive development.
And if you don't attract sufficient investment, development won't happen, and you won't have the same scale of revenue.
According to Rutledge, you can have a fair share of a much larger number based on investments, which is ultimately more meaningful for the country. Meanwhile, President Irfan Ali, during a recent interview with a journalist from New York Times, provided the government's position on the PSA.
A government that recognized that they had a bad PSA had committed itself to design a new PSA, went beyond that and implemented a new PSA, and we're making that known up front that if you want to be part of the oil and gas sector in Guyana, this is the new PSA.
Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
More investment interest in St. Anne, Jamaica, and World Bank downgrades economic outlook for Jamaica. This TVJ Business Day report has some details.
The continued expansion of commercial activity in Draxhall, St. Anne is seen as a game changer in a parish once renowned for tourism.
When you look at this strip here, all the investments that have been put down in the last 4 or 5 years, you're looking at several $1 billion of investments. But look a little deeper. How many jobs are here now?
Quartz Jamaica, part of Unicommerce Group, opened its 30th Jamaican store in the area, adding to the list of companies that have invested heavily in Draxhall.
It's really the vibrant people of Jamaica, its vibrant economy, and its vibrant communities that really has propelled us to really grow in this market, and where we're committed to continue growing.
To other prospective investors, Prime Minister Andrew Holness made this pitch.
Employment is expanding, more people have income, exchange rate is stable and free, inflation is on its way down. The public debt has gone down to the lowest it has ever been in 30 years. At the end of this fiscal year, we will be below 70% debt to GDP.
He was, however, quick to point out there are other factors which hinder investments, issues like crime, the poor state of the roads, and other critical infrastructure. But Mr. Holness says he remains optimistic.
As we pursue the economic development and getting the macroeconomic variables right, the dividends from that, rest assured, the dividends from that will be reinvested in the people in tangible ways. That is why we did something like the reverse tax credit, never before in Jamaica's history, where the government is giving back to people who earn less than $3 million per year.
For the Business Day, I'm Javon Keys.
The World Bank has downgraded its outlook for economic growth in Jamaica. Jamaica is now expected to see gross domestic product GDP growth of 0.8% in 2024. The latest outlook reflects a consensus that sectors are returning to low growth levels seen before the pandemic. It's made worse by lower productivity in some sectors linked to Hurricane Beryl in July. The estimate in October 2024 reflects a downward revision from the 2% growth forecast in April. The World Bank has, however, upgraded its growth outlook for 2025, with GDP expected to increase by 2.2%. In April, the 2025 forecast was for 1.6% growth.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Haiti's Prime Minister Gary Conille pleads for more financial commitment to fund Kenya's peacekeeping mission. Details in this Citizen TV Kenya report.
A salvation his country so dearly needed is what Kenya provided in leading a multinational police mission in Haiti to restore order in the capital Port-au-Prince and the rest of the Caribbean country gripped by gang violence. And Prime Minister Gary Conille arrived at the Administration Police Training College on the second day of his visit to Kenya to hear from the leadership of the National Police Service on the operation Kenya is leading in his country.
We have additional officers right now here, all drawn from the National Police Service, from the formed up units of the National Police Service. They have been prepared. Actually, we have been carrying out the pre-deployment training in readiness to deploy them again to go and continue supporting their brothers and sisters who are already in Haiti.
Prime Minister Conille provided an upbeat assessment of the situation in his country, which he said warrants international attention.
Well, as you know, in terms of context, Haiti is facing one of the worst crises in its history. 80% of the capital is surrounded and controlled by gangs. 600 people are displaced. About 5% of the population can no longer go home. Half the population is food insecure. 70% of our health infrastructure have collapsed. Women are being raped and abused in a violent manner. The situation poses both a humanitarian, a development, and a security threat.
For Conille, despite appreciating Kenya's invaluable role in restoring order, he said the mission is facing gross underfunding.
The frustration is not only with the financing of the force, which in my view has been delayed for too long. The level of resources required to actually ensure that we can support the Haitian people are really insignificant when you compare it to the other expenditures that are happening worldwide.
Welcome home, my friend. Thank you very much.
President William Ruto and Conille underscored the underfunding challenge facing the mission. The two during their meeting at State House in Nairobi appealing for more financial help following the extension of the mission's mandate by the United Nations Security Council. Kenya first deployed the first batch of its police in July, and the additional 600 officers will bring the total number of police officials from Kenya to Haiti to 1,000. Nairobi is leading a mission that's also made up by contingents from Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados, Chad, and Jamaica. Cornel's predecessor, Ariel Henry, in a consequential trip to Kenya, was unable to land back in the capital Port-au-Prince, sealing his fate as Prime Minister. Unlike his predecessors, he faces the daunting task of rebuilding a country and a people on the brink of collapse. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
The desire is to have more Barbadians qualified. That's the word from the director of the Barbados Transformation Initiative, Dr. Alison Leacock. She was speaking at the panel discussion put on by the Barbados Accreditation Council, named towards a national qualifications framework. Reimagine higher education in the Barbados economy. Addressing the crowd, Dr. Leacock stated the stereotype of academic qualifications will be addressed in the national framework that is being rolled out at the moment and promote a new way forward for higher learning in the country. Dr. Leacock also stated that the higher education landscape needs to drive green technologies and circular economies. She also stated that some of the strategies to influence and implement the driving of those ideas have been included in the BERT BERT program strategy 4.
Our intent is that we align with the CARICOM vision of at least 60% of our workforce having tertiary level qualifications. And basically an ecosystem, an educational ecosystem that is forward-thinking, globally relevant, and promoting Barbadian interests and values. Our mission, in another sense, is that we are enabling Starbadians to shine. And our NTI Starbadians has 2 R's, because it's about selecting, training, assessing, reviewing, and recognizing every Barbadian and the skills and competencies that they have. We have observed that if we do not acknowledge the roadblocks to our people being excited about their personal and professional development, we will continue to increase the digital divide and the elitism that has been part of our educational system. So for us, we are very focused on turning learners into achievers, recognizing that there are multiple intelligences and that we each learn differently.
In the meantime, the Minister of Home Affairs, Wilfred Abrahams, wants doctors to be more open-minded when it comes to using medicinal cannabis for treatment in Barbados. Mr. Abrahams says all aspects of medicinal cannabis need to be on the table, and as such, the acceptance and coverage of the plant as a treatment is important. He says moving forward it is critical, not just from the perspective of wanting a bigger and better industry for Barbados, but also for comprehensive healthcare. Mr. Abrams' comments came at the opening of the Bajcan Medical Conference and Export spearheaded by the Barbados Medicinal Cannabis Licensing Authority. Acknowledging cannabis is still illegal in Barbados outside of medicinal and spiritual use, Mr. Abrahams says Barbados must reevaluate how it deals with ganja. He says discussions must now focus on what comes next.
Why are we so hesitant as a people to explore, investigate, and find out for ourselves what actually does indeed work for us? I say all of that to say this was a very, very bold step. It was a very bold step. It was a bold step for the authority. It is a bold step, I guess, for the government. It's a bold step for all the participants in it. And I'm asking that the doctors who are here approach this with a firm understanding that medicine is an evolving science. We can't pretend that while we're addressing medicinal, that a larger conversation is not going to have to happen in respect of cannabis, right? the edibles and the psychedelics, they're available here. I mean, that's the reality. I'm not saying it further on that, but the fact that most people know how to get what it is that they want, unless they carry it to the extreme and do something ridiculous, nothing comes of it, means that we can't pretend that it is not here. If we accept that they are here, then we have to address our minds as to what we do with it and how we deal with it. If we plan to enforce against it, then take the decision to enforce against it.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.